Haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Samich Amud Beis, 9 lines from the bottom. The Mishnah had taught us that when certain avodos of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippurim are done out of sequential order, then is ma'akev. For example, if the Kohen Gadol sprinkles the blood of the seir before sprinkling the blood of the par, so then he'll have to go ahead and re-sprinkle the dam of the soir. Reviewing the avodos of Yom Kippurim, the Kohen Gadol first, he makes vidui on his par, then he does the goiral of the seirim, he comes back to his par, makes his second vidui, whereby he then shechs his par, then he goes ahead and brings the ketaras inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim and burns the ketaras in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. He comes out, he takes the blood of the par, and he goes back into the Kodesh HaKadoshim and is zarek the dam towards the kaparis in the above the aron. Then he goes out and he takes the soir and he shechs the soir, and he then goes ahead and takes its blood and then also goes back into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, sprinkles it towards the kaparis. He comes out, he takes the dam of the par, and he goes in and he sprinkles the blood on the heichal towards the kapares, towards the paroiches. Then he goes and takes the blood of the seir, and he sprinkles that blood towards the paroiches. He then mixes the two damim, and he then performs the avodah on the inner mizbeach, first applying the dam on each of the four corners, and then he sprinkles the dam on the gag of the inner mizbeach. The Gemara now says, Omar Rabbi Chanina, Kitares shechofna koidem shchitasoi shel par, loy osav loy klum. If indeed he performed the kitares before the shchita of the par, then it's not valid. He'll have to go ahead and then do the choifnov and the avodah of the kitaris once again. Says the Gemara Kiman, who is this like? Says the Gemara, Lo ke Rabbi Yehuda. It's not like the sheet of Rabbi Yehuda. Now, Rabbi Yehuda, we said, held that all of the avodas that are ma'akev, if it's done out of order, is only that which the Kohen Gadol wears his white vestments in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The white vestments that he wears for any avodah outside, the heichal and in the azara, is not going to be ma'akev, it's out of order. Rabbi Nechemia argues, and he says, even those avodos of the Kohen Gadol that are outside of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, when he does the with his white vestments, those will also be ma'akev if they're out of order. So Gemara suggests over here that the statement that was just made, if the ketaris was done before the shchita of the par, that is going to be ma'akev. The Gemara suggests it must not be like Rabbi Yehuda. Di'i Rabbi Yehuda, the Omar, kiksiva chuka. Rabbi Yehuda says when it says the word chuka, it's going to be an eternal statute, meaning to say that it has to be done this specific way. Bidvarim hanasim bebitei lovim mibifnim hu dechsiva. It's talking about when the Kohen Gadol does the avodah with his four white vestments inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And this, of course, is not inside when he then was makdim the choifna of the k'tares before the shchita of the par, which is both done outside in the azara. The Gemara says, Tnan. No, sorry, the Gemara says, Afilu tem Rabbi Yehuda. You can even suggest that this is going to Rabbi Yehuda as well. Because Sarech Pnim Ki Pnim Dami. Because since the shechting of the par is for the blood that's going to be sprinkled inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, thereby it will be ma'akev if he does the chofnov of the ketaris before the shchita of the par. Tnan, the Gemara brings a Mishnah that seems to challenge this. Im ad sheloi gemar matonish mifnim nishbach adam. If before he finishes the sprinkling of the dam in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and while he's in the middle, the dam then is nishpach, it spills. What should he do? Says the Mishnah, Yavi dam acher v'yachzor v'yazeh betchila mibifnim. Then he should take the new dam and should go ahead and make new sprinklings in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Ask the Gemara, V'im Isa, if indeed it is true what you just said, the Shita Rabbi Yehuda is, even that which is done outside, if it's for that which is done inside, it's ma'akev. So ask the Gemara, then Yachzor v'yachvoin mi boile. Then over here, it should say Yachvoin, and then it should say, that he should be Yachvoin, and then he should be Yishchot. Because over here, we're talking about the Shchitas HaPar, the order is the Shchita of the Par. Then the Moloi Choifnov, the Avoid of the Ketoris, and then the Zrika of the Dam of the Par. So if you're going to say that the Shchita of the Par is done for the Avoid of Shebifnim, and therefore, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, it'll be Ma'akiv, the Seder, then over here also, you should then go ahead and say, since he did it out of order, he must then go ahead and be melachoifnav, do the avoid of the ketares again, since he did over here out of order. He did it before the shechita of the par. On top of Samach Aleph Amid Aleph, the Gemara says, "Beketares lo yikol mari." And echanami, we're not discussing over here the ketares. And therefore, over here, we're talking about that he has to go ahead and shecht again, and then do the zrikas hadam. But of course, in regards to the ketaris, he would have to do the ketaris again. That's true. It's just not stated over here. Omar Ula says the following statement: Seir sheshochtoi koidem matan doma shel par. If he shechted the seir before applying the dam of the par, loy osa v'loy klum, meaning to say he'll have to go back and then sprinkle the dam of the seir once again because it was done out of order. Tnan, the Gemara brings the Mishnah, hikdim dam hasor le dam apar. If he preceded by then being makdim the dam hasoir before the dam of the par, Yachzor v'yazeh midam asor achar dam apar. Then he should go back and then sprinkle the dam of the soyer, which he did before the par, which was out of order. Now you have to sprinkle the dam of the soyer once again. Ask the Gemara, v'im isa, if it's true what we said before, that indeed the shechita that is going to be done, even though it's done in the azara, but it's for the kodesh hakadoshim, sprinkling of the dam of the kodesh hakadoshim, then that's also considered to be ma'akev. As we said before, if that's true, then yachzor v'yishchot mi boile. He'd have to go back and shecht the seer once again. Because the Gemara is assuming over here that we're talking about where he did the sprinkling of the dam, the soir in the kodesh hakadoshim, and then sprinkle the dam of the par in the kodesh hakadoshim. So since that's out of order, so therefore it's not good enough that he goes ahead and now sprinkles the dam of the soyer. He'd have to go ahead and shecht the dam of the shecht the soyer once again. And therefore, why does it mention that? Why does it only say that he was yachzor and mazeh the dam? It should say yachzor v'yishchoit. Ask the Gemara. Answers the Gemara, Tirgama Ula b'matonos shebehechel. We're not talking about the matonos, the application of the dam in the kodesh hakadoshim. That was the assumption that we went on before, but that's not what we're talking about. Rather, what we're talking about over here is in the heichal itself. So what Ula is talking about is that if a person, the Kohen Gadol rather, is zoreg the dam of the soyer in the heichal, and then he was zoreg the dam of the par in the heichal, which was out of order, then he must go back and be zoreg the dam of the seer once again. And that's what the Rice is, that's what he's saying over here, and therefore it does not require him to go ahead and shecht once again. V'chein omar Rabbi Afes b'matona shebeheichal. Similarly, he says we're talking about the matonas of the heichal, and therefore That is the reason why he does not have to go back and shecht the seir again. The Gemara now quotes the Mishnah, V'chein beheichal, v'chein b'mizbeach. And similarly, this is true when it comes to the heichal, and similarly it's true when it comes to the mizbeach. In other words, each one is a different shlav. The Gemara now brings a brisa, since we say that each one is a different shlav, and therefore if he completed the zrikas hadam, let's say, in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and then in the heichal, there he has to repeat the avoida. Let's say he only did part of the sprinkling of the dam and then the rest spilled. So then he doesn't have to go back to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. He just continues in the heichal, according to the Tanakama from the beginning of the zrikos, or according to Rabbi Eliezer, he does so where he left off. The Gemara now brings a brisa in regards to then the various kaparos of the stages that we're talking about. Tana Rabbanim. The Gemara brings a pasuk, and the pasuk says as follows: V'chiper es mikdash hakodesh, and he shall atone for that which is in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. V'es oil moed, and that which will be for the oil moed, the tent of meeting. V'es hamizbeach, and the mizbeach yichaper, he shall atone. V'al kohanim v'al kol am hakahal yichaper. Says the Gemara, bring the following brisa, Tanu Rabbanon, V'chiper es mikdash hakodesh, and he shall atone for the mikdash hakodesh. Ze lifnai v'lifnim. This is referring to the tumah of one who is inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Oyel moyed, ze heichal. This will then mechaper for the tumah when he's in the oil moed, in the heichal. Mizbeach kimashmo, the mizbeach kimashmo. Here we're talking about l'chara, the mizbeach hapnimi. Yechaper elu azoros. These are referring to the azoros, the Ezras Yisrael, the Ezras kohanim, hakohanim kimashmon, am hakal elu Yisrael, yechaper elu alavim. So the Gemara is bringing a brisa that is explaining that the various avodos, since they're separate, as we said in the Mishnah, that if one did already the complete avodah in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and now he's in the middle of the avodah in the heichal, he doesn't have to go back to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So it's a different procedure, a different shlav. And the Brisa now explains that the various tumah, that the shlavim, that each part is coming to mechaper on. The first one is being mechaper on Kodesh HaKadoshim, when somebody has tumah, and he's in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The other one is talking about when he is zarek the dam in the heichal. That will then atone for the tumah that was when a person was tamei in the heichal. Similarly, when it comes to then the zrikas hadam, the avodas hadam on the mizbeach hapnimi, that will atone for the tumah when one is involved over there in the heichal as well by the mizbeach hazov. Yechaper, that is going on the azaros, referring to the sharei hadam, which is poured in the azara of the mizbeach hachitzoin, and it includes all the kohanim, Yisrael, and Levim. The Gemara now brings hushva kulam the kapora achas. When it says yechaper at the end, it comes to then equate all of them with one kapora. Shekulam mischaprim b'siyah mishtalech b'shar averos, that they're all equated to the siyah mishtalech on all other averos other than the tumah that we had mentioned before. The Rabbi Yehuda, that's how Rabbi Yehuda learns. Rabbi Shimon is choylek, and he says, "Keshem shehem shedam hasoyer hanase bifnim mechaper al Yisrael betuma mikodesh hakadoshov." Just as the dam of the soyer is going to then, which is sprinkled inside the kodesh kadoshim, will mechaper on all of Yisrael with their tumas mikdash and kodoshov. So too, kach dam apar mechaper al hakohanim betumas mikdash v'kedoshav. So too, the dam of the par will also, that's sprinkled inside the kodesh kadoshim, will also then mechaper for all of the kohanim for mikdash and kodoshov. Ukeshem she vidui, and that's all done without the vidui until now. Ukeshem shevidui shall siya mishtalech mechaper al Yisrael b'shar averos, just as the vidui will mechaper on all of Klal Yisrael for all other averos, says Rabbi Shimon, that is done with the siya mishtalech. Kach vidui shall par mechaper al hakohanim b'shar averos. So too the vidui of the par that will then effect an atonement for the kohanim for all other averos other than the tuma. The Gemara now brings a brisa based on the pause that we had learned before. V'ton Rabbon, v'kilo mechaper es hakodesh. It says over here that when he is completing the procedure, it will be atoning for the kodesh, referring to the kodesh hakadoshim. The Gemara explains, zeh lifnai v'lifnim. The Gemara goes through the pasuk and explains that each part is referring to a different part. It here refers to the completion of the avoid in the kodesh hakadoshim. Oyel moyed. This refers to zeh eichal. This refers to the completion of the avodah in the heichal. Mizbeach kimashmo. This refers to the completion of the avodah procedure in the heichal by the inner mizbeach. Melamed. The Brisa goes on to say, Shekulon kapara b'fnei atzmon. Each one has their own kapara b'fnei atzmon. And again, as the Brisa will then shortly briefly, that the avoid that was done in the Kodesh Kadoshim is b'fnei atzmoi. And therefore when he moves on to the avoid in the heichal, if indeed the dam is nishbach in the avoid of the heichal, he does not go back to the earlier avoid of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. That's performed separately, and he already performed that. As the Brisa goes on to explain, Mikan Omru, Noson Mikzas Matono Shebifnim V'nishbach Adam. If he performs some of the avodah in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, he begins sprinkling the dam, and after 3 sprinkling of the dam spills. Yavi dam acher v'yatchil b'tchila b'matono shebifnim. Then he will then go ahead and bring new dam and begin the counting, sprinkling from a new 1, 2, 3, and so on. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, Oimrim, they are choylek, and they say, Eino matchil ele b'makom sheposach. He continues to then sprinkle the dam with new dam, but the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, he doesn't go back to the beginning. Gomas hamatonois. This is what the Brisa was referring to before when it said, Melam shekulon kapara b'fnei atzmon. It says, Gomas hamatonois shebifnim. He finished the avodah of all of the applications in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. V'nishbach adam, and then the dam is spilled. Then yavi dam ach v'yatche b'tchila matmona shebehechal. Then he brings the new dam, and he then uses that new dam for new applications in the heichal. He no longer has to go back to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Noson mikzas matones shebehechal. If he performs some partial of the sprinkling of the dam in the heichal, v'nishbach adam, and then the dam spilled. Yavi dam acher v'yasche b'tchilas behechal. Then, according to Tanakama, which is Rabbi Meir, he goes and uses the new dam and begins counting anew with the sprinkling of the dam in the heichal. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, oimrim eino matchil el b'makom sheposach. They say no, he doesn't have to then go to the beginning of the count, but rather he continues from where he left off. If he did 3 sprinklings, he does from the 4th onwards. Gomar maton shebeheichal v'nishbach adam. If he completed the applications in the heichal and then the dam spilled, yavi damach v'yasche b'tchilat matonos hamizbeach. Then he brings new dam for the applications in the inner mizbeach. Nosom mixat matonos shebemizbeach b'mizbeach v'nishbach adam. If he begins doing partial of the applications in the inner mizbeach and then the dam spills, Yavo damach v'yasche b'tchilat matonos hamizbeach. Then he brings another dam, and he then begins doing the applications again in the inner mizbeach, according to the Tanakam, which is Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, oimrim b'makom sheposach hu maschil. Whereas they are cholik, and they say again that he continues where he had left off. Again, if he did 3 of the zrikas hadam, then he then goes and then does 4 and onwards. Gomar matonish b'mizbeach v'nishbach adam. If he completes all of the avodah on the inner mizbeach and then the dam spills, divrei hakol ma'akvei. According to these tanoim, the Tanakam, which is Rabbi Meir, and Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Elazar, they all say that it's not ma'akiv. But we did learn above that there are certain Tanoim that say that indeed it would be ma'akiv. That means that the blood itself would have to be then, it would be ma'akev until it's poured down on the base of the outer mizbeach. Omer Rabbi Yochanan says ushneim mikra echad darshu. The Tanakama, which is Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon Elazar, they are arguing about how to learn the following pasuk. Midam achatos hakipurim achas b'shana. From the dam of the chatos of the kippurim, once a year. Rabbi Meir, who's the Tanakama, Sovar, he holds chatos achas amarti lecha v'lo shtei chatos. He's learning that it's only dam chatos, that is once, and therefore if the dam after mixas of the matanos spills, let's say after the 3 zrikas hadam spills, so then he has to go from the beginning. Why? Because it's only chatos achas. It can only be one of one dam, and therefore he has to count anew, and it's completely one chatos. Otherwise, it would be considered to be 2 chatos. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon Savrei, they learn differently in the pasuk. Even the pasuk says midam chatos hakipum achas b'shana. They learn savrei chitui echad. It's the sprinkling, one sprinkling. Amarti lecha v'lo shnei chituim, and not 2 sprinklings. And therefore, if he did, let's say in the heichal 3 zrikos, and then the dam was nishmach, so then he continues on from 4 onwards, because that's considered to be 1 sprinkling, and therefore not 2 sprinklings. If it would be then going back from the beginning, it would be considered to be 2 chituim, 2 sprinklings.